Dribble into the yellow before you pass it back.
Now, I still believe, when we're speaking of concussions, it's the education around it, which then makes it even more, it even enhances why being more proactive, which we were talking about yesterday, in including speech pathologists and others into athletic staffs in the teams. This came into my mind yesterday. I said, well, to me then, okay, this is just me talking to myself, right? Because I do that too. I was like, well, you know, I guess speech pathologists should be just as a staple in the team as the equipment manager. Everybody's got equipment manager, isn't it? Have y'all ever experienced that? When the equipment manager call out sick, oh my God, nobody know where nothing is. You don't know where a basketball is. You don't know where the jerseys are. What's going on with y'all? We don't see stuff every day. How you don't know where it is? When they're out, it's a problem. But to the point of, okay, we know that it will hurt their bottom line. That, and we're still in learning and education mode here, right? That can help the case for why speech pathologists need to be in the building. You need to be in the room. You need to be a staple on this staff. We need to be. Because if you don't report it, that could be an issue. Because sometimes they don't have to report it. That's the thing, at least in the NFL. Some things you don't have to report, or we could just tell the media it's a concussion. You ain't gotta go through all that other stuff. But in the best interest of the team, if you have these things in place, then it helps to kind of diminish the don't play sports until you get a certain age, because you already have the infrastructure in place to help take those preventative measures along the way. And I see you have a question here.
I probably should be quiet because I didn't have a question because my behavioral science, I had a comment, but I don't know if it's appropriate now. You guys have basically been saying it all along, but in essence, what essentially takes place is physicians, primarily my vanilla brothers, they make those decisions about what journalists are allowed to talk about, and they will simultaneously suggest to you that if you talk about those things that have not been approved, then you may be in jeopardy for your job. And because concussions translates into what's going on inside the brain. And we already know what's going on because repetitive concussions lead to a number of other things. So Europeans will basically tell you can't talk about it until the person is expired. And they call that chronic traumatic encephalopathy. So when you start talking about things that encroaches upon what my vanilla brothers, who typically are the MDs that make decisions around the NFL and who can do this in terms of concussion protocol, what they literally would do is say, you are out of your league. We cannot have the lay public being informed about what happens inside of the brain. We're the only ones allowed to talk about that. And then that will empower other people, and athletes will begin to realize that they are not just a commodity. They are basically, we just flip you guys around like tissue out of a box because we're going to get some more of you. And so when you become educated to that, then people become empowered to make decisions. And people like you will make comments about the bottom line, and they'll say, well, is she a financial analyst? And if I say something about the brain, well, did you go to Harvard, Yale, or Princeton? Because they have to compartmentalize you so they can keep the pecking order who has power in place, because they want to recycle the people. The bottom line is, if you frighten the crap out of mainstream vanilla America, then vanilla people that have money, they're not going to allow the kids to engage in these sports because they don't wind up with brain damage. So they tell you we can't talk about brain damage until you die. Chronic traumatic encephalopathy. But there's a whole other phenomenon I might talk about it another time next year called repetitive axonal trauma syndromes. So they hide it because the brain is so resilient And the resilience comes back into, he's up to speed now, he's up to playing. But you don't realize the brain has rerouted a new highway, and the person that has the actual trauma, they're trying to accommodate because they don't want to be like shipped to another team and reroute their whole family. They don't want to do that. So it's a game.
Oh, yeah.
And it's a high-end chess game.
If you notice exactly what you're saying, it came up yesterday with Tua, the quarterback for the Miami Dolphins. You do realize there were not a lot of stories about that injury. And that was by design, to your point. Because that was a real thing that we all saw him do. Just like with DeMar Hamlin, it was a very real thing. But in that case, we're going to shut this conversation down. And don't you go tipping into somebody's medical records. That's when it comes into the staff that support them. I can come to you and I know you can tell me, but you'll be blackballed after that.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, even at the Super Bowl when I saw the American Heart Association, right, on Radio Row, right? Where was the concussion foundation or, you know what I'm saying? So just to that point.
Because you can get over a concussion, Dr. Pope. But if your heart stop it, exactly.
You know, what I'm saying, you see
Right.
the American Heart Association in there, but where's the concussion?
The NFL got a gag order. I mean, literally. I mean, the girl that I talked to last night, she was young. She just looked, oh no. You know, what did the girl say? Executive order, or I got the something. And she said something, and I just looked at her. You know? And the thing about it, most of the people she worked for are no longer playing. I ain't gonna tell you what organization you figure out. They're no longer playing. So why? And they the people. Oh, then she said, you know, so they got CTE, and this is my way of saying you ain't educated. You can't get CTE. You only get you diagnosed out of your dead. So you talking to dead people?
Yes, sir.
See, but that's what they say. I said we need to educate them. There's some other terms they might get. You see, so get educated.
So I have a question. So how can we have athletes here today? So how can we empower them to talk about their brain health in a more, a more formative way? How do we get them to talk about, even like events like today, how do we get them to talk about those stories?
With brain health, and that could be somewhere where you all can start this movement. It's a part of your training now. You all did these exercises here. So it's a part of what you do now. It is a part of your program. So that when you are prepared, when you are in college playing, and perhaps hack now. Now everybody got one right now, because I think this one about to be good. This about to be good. When you are trying to decide which program you're going to, ask them if they have brain health exercises incorporated into their athletic program.
Great question.
They're gonna be like, what? Brain health? What is that? Yeah. Do you have that? Because you can ask questions too now. You really can. To make the best decision for you as a human. Right? It's a real thing. Even for, and somebody, listen, we were talking about this yesterday. It only takes 1, 2, or 3. Other people will catch on. I gave the example of women full-time coaches in the NFL. There are 4 coaches who really led the charge on women full-time coaches in the NFL. A couple years ago, there was 0. Right now, there are 12. Right? It's just 4. Now, there's other coaches that support. But let me tell you something. From those 4, it's growing. I say that to this community because all you need is a couple. You don't need everybody. Everybody, all 32 don't have to go. Every league does not have to go. But I guarantee you they will catch on. When their programs and their performance are enhanced because of incorporating brain health activities into their programs. They'll get it then. Why they doing so well over there? Because they smart, literally. They're over there talking about brain health. For real. Like, it'll be a thing. Because how else are you gonna process the X's and O's?
Right.
So it all is connected. It's all connected. And if your brain is damaged, you are damaged. Your team is therefore damaged. So why not incorporate these things, like you said, proactively? But these are the messages that I'm even saying out loud to myself because it's all a part of the story. Media, we control the narrative. It's exactly what Monique just said. You have to control the narrative. And if you get a couple of coaches to buy into it, it'll work. It's gonna work anyway. That's gonna be here, right? But it will work. They will get it. It's just in how you sell the message. It's all about a part of the story. So even if, say, you're not feeling well, start embracing pain in a way where you're vulnerable enough to tell somebody, I don't feel well. Something isn't right.
So, I introduce myself. I'll say my name first this time. I'm Monique A. Smith. I'm a lead strategist for athletic departments for organizations and individuals who wish to advance in athletic administration. My company is called Seeds of Empowerment. And so I like to say I'm bringing the garden to head to speech. And so these are ladies that happen to belong to our private Facebook group, and they are women leading in sports business. Can we get a round of applause for that? And I thought it was important for us to talk about supporting each other. And Dr. Pope has done a fabulous job. This being the third year with this summit. So can we get a round of applause for that? And even though we're in sports, there's no competition. There's no competition. So I have a couple ladies here with me, and I want them to introduce themselves and the sport business that they lead.
Good afternoon. My name is Patrice Bowman. I am the COO of the DC Divas, a women's professional tackle football team. I'm also the VP of operations for the MFL.
Okay, tell me what that is.
Minor Football League. So he's also presenting here, Dr. Miles.
Okay, thanks.
Hi everyone, I'm Lori Governor Curtis. I am, how do I say this? I think best put is I'm a problem solver, and I think that's probably why I was a math major in college. I am CEO and founder of On the Court Solutions. Again, I spoke earlier, my focus is on leadership development, as well as student athlete development, and I also do logistics, event management, project management. Essentially, I'd like to support and help people get from where they are to where they'd like to be.
Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Andrea Durham, and I am a certified athletic trainer in Maryland. I'm also the founder of Minority Women in Sports Medicine. We're a local nonprofit, and through our scholarship foundation and our mentorship program, as well as community workshops and events, we provide minority women who are interested in careers in sports medicine with all the tools they need to thrive in whichever field they choose. I am also a kinesiology and entrepreneurship instructor at the Bullitt School in Potomac, Maryland.
Outstanding, outstanding. So one other thing is I want to be able to showcase the different areas you can go into. So that's one thing. Second question I have. Head to Speech is a unique nonprofit to provide resources like prehab, brain health workouts. And so language is key. And so I learned these terms and I got so excited. I said, I want to share this. And so I want to hear from you what words, memory, sequences, that's another thing with the memory, safety and awareness. What were some of the surprises that you have learned about Head to Speech that got you excited about this phenomenal movement?
Let me go first. Okay, perfect. So I would say one of the things that I really enjoyed yesterday was how we kind of broke up into our different areas of expertise, right? Where we had people in secondary school over here, and then on this side from a higher education standpoint. Because I think our experiences are much different. The resources are much different. The ages of the kids obviously are much different. So I think in our group, from a secondary education standpoint, the majority of our focus was on educating the parents. Because obviously most of these kids are minors, so we have to educate the parents. And one of the things that I brought up in our focus group was the difference between the resources available to kids and the knowledge that the parents had from me going from public school to private school, right? And in the public school, a lot of kids honestly got left behind. Like there were resources available to them if they met the criteria of like the typical recovery, right? So let's say they got better and they were back to baseline within a couple weeks. But what about the kids who don't get back to baseline within those couple weeks? Like I felt like in public school they were left behind. They were falling behind in school. You know, they were dropping out of classes because they couldn't keep up. So I think that one of the things that I'm going to take back, and one of the things that I've been working hard on at my school now, is making sure that the kids who don't meet that typical return to play timeline, that they don't get left behind, that they have the learning specialists, that they have people that are kind of modifying their education. So I loved that aspect of yesterday, and I think it's something that we should do more often.
Absolutely, I would agree with that. I did enjoy the session yesterday. What I also love about Head to Speech and what Dr. Pope is doing is bringing so many people together of different backgrounds to figure out a solution. How do we make this work? We know that it's something that's needed, that's missing. So what can we do collectively to come together in order for us to make this happen? You talk about, my daughter's autistic, so she has a full team of people. She has a neurologist, she has a primary care physician, she had a speech therapist when she was in school. She had all of these different folks in their different areas of specialty working with her to support her and to help her. Head to Speech and integrating this into college athletics or any athletics, whether it's high school, middle school, but integrating the full team of people working with that individual. They have coaches, they have athletic trainers. They need to have Head to Speech in their program.
I would agree as well. And number one, talking about the prehab, I was fortunate to have Dr. Pope actually come out and speak to my athletes and talk about number one, what does it look like in regards to having a concussion, but also going through the exercises in regards to making sure that we can recover from those injuries. So that was very exciting to me. Also today, actually going through the simulation, again, my son, he actually suffered a concussion. And again, me having that conversation with him, being a parent that actually cared about what it looked like for his recovery, because again, a lot of kids don't have that. Going through that exercise really gave me a bird's eye view of what his experience was. Because again, not knowing that, not understanding that, a lot of times we take for granted that at this point, you're just saying these things, going back to what we talked about, that if it's not tangible, if we can't see it, we don't understand it. So I think it's very important for us not just to talk about it, but also provide the exercises and actually show people what it looks like and what it feels like. Because again, our assumption, because our perception is our reality. So again, those were great exercises that I experienced today.
Well, can you tell me what did your athletes say after Dr. Pope left? Did you see the light go off?
Well, actually, while she was there, you could see they were very attentive to number one, exercises, talking through it. Because again, when in fact that you do things on a daily basis, you don't think about it. But actually stopping and focusing on what those things look like and what they feel like, and also going through the recovery stage. Because again, we do have young ladies, again, we're in preseason right now, so that actually had a concussion. So again, she's going through the protocol, so she understood just going through the exercise what it looks like and what it feels like. So again, having understanding that during the prehab, now talking to her afterwards, she's thinking about certain things and doing her recovery. She can also speak to our medical staff in regards to what that looks like and feels like, so they can actually take her through the protocols and she understands it. It's not just what they're telling her, she also understands it for what it is.
Well, I'm going somewhere here, because yesterday we talked about our action items, okay? And one of the questions, they had our athletic administrator here, and it's just, well, how do we get into the athletic department? And it has to be the head coach, you know? And then my thought was, it has to be the athletic trainer, you know? And so what I said to everybody who was listening to me, I said, when we get a football coach who can say that head to speech made his team better, but this was going to say, it's going to be when the head coach says when her team got better, we'll have a spokesperson, because that would be the secret sauce. So we're going to, again, where's Candy? We're gonna watch this to see if this team gets better after this, all right? And that's the story we're gonna tell. And that's what this collectiveness is about, being able to tell that story, okay? Last question. And don't take mine here, get your own right here. As a sports leader in the sports community, what strategies do you see that you can assist with to get this information out to the communities that you serve?
Similar to what I said earlier, I think it's, if you ask me from what area I was kind of approaching the question from, I probably have 3 different answers, right? But from where I am at a high school, right, or, I mean, it's K-12, but I mostly work with 8th and 12th graders. Again, I think that goes back to the parents. Because we have a lot of parents where, you know, we recently changed our policy where every kid who we suspect has a concussion has to go to the doctor. I used to oversee the entire concussion protocol. Like, kids didn't used to do everything in-house. We had an incident where a kid went to a doctor that he knew, right? That cleared him. We had video evidence of the kid literally stumbling off the field. The family knew a doctor, the doctor signed off on the kid being able to go back after 3 days. Didn't even have to complete our entire, so we ended up changing and overhauling the whole policy. And I think that is one of the things that we have to be willing to do when we're presented with new evidence. Times are changing. When things aren't going right, we're getting feedback from different groups. And I think it's important to have organizations like Head to Speech to be able to look at people's concussion protocols and be like, well, here's what we're missing, right? Here is what you can do better, and be willing to take that advice and kind of overhaul what you're doing and to improve it and make it better. And one of the things I did want to say is that a lot of times parents don't even know, you say go to the doctor, they don't know what doctor. A lot of times they don't know what, especially with the kids who are taking a little bit extra time to kind of recover, they don't know what a neurologist is. Sometimes they don't, right? They don't know about the doctors that are and the resources available through Head to Speech. They just don't know. And I think like maybe even having things at our school that are like little handouts where you can say, okay, this kid, you know, I got 2 kids right now. One had to drop all his classes fall trimester. And I have one girl who she's been having symptoms for 6 months, right? And still not getting any better. But they don't know. She's like, yeah, my mom said I might have to go to somebody. And I'm like, here's who you need to be seeing. You can't just go to anybody. You got to make sure that they specialize in what it is that you need.
I want to do a follow-up question. So I do know you have women in, minority women in sports medicine, all right? And so with that organization, you help women to get excited and stay in the sports medicine field. What kind of information from Head to Speech will you incorporate that in that organization?
No, I think it's great because this is like the first year, like over the last, like I say, year here, we're getting a lot of undergraduate students who, I mean, you know, if you think about who you were in undergrad, you don't have it all figured out. A lot of them don't know what they want to do. They know that they want to work in sports, that's what they know for sure, but they don't know in what capacity. So I think like exposing them to different fields, Like, our organization started out as sports medicine is my background, so that's what I built. However, like, we have tapped into women in sports everywhere. And like getting these kids to realize that there are other options for them. You don't have to go into sports medicine if that's not what you're interested in, but being able to provide resources that they thrive no matter what they choose to do.
Okay, one more piece. So what we heard, because I don't know if you caught this. So one of the things, there's a divide with athletic trainers and speech pathologists. So what do you think, I don't know why that is. You know, maybe it's, I deal with concussion protocol and it's mine. I don't need you. I don't know what it is. But if for those that are in it, because this is a strategy she asked yesterday, and I come to the experts. What do you think we need to do to get them to embrace somebody else in their training room to help them be better, and they don't know it?
Oh, we don't know everything. Like, nobody knows everything, and that's why, back to what Lori said, like, this is collaborative. This is a collaborative effort. I have never had that experience where where athletic trainers were unwilling to take advice from anyone else. That's just crazy to me, right? Like, nobody can do this alone. Like, when you think about the recovery from once a kid gets hurt to once they return to baseline, they go back to their sport and they're back to where they should be, there are so many people that they see along the way.